Okay, so in today's session, what we do is we'll try to understand how do we register a PLSQL procedure as a concurrent program. So in real time, there are some scenarios we may require different kind of concurrent program. So far, we have seen that like registering a report as a concurrent program, but there are chances we may need to register a PLSQL program or Java program or even like a shell script program or even Perl script program, even SQL loader. So there are different set of programs which are available and which can be registered. So it all depends upon the business purpose. Like if you consider a report, it's an end user report, that's like a business user report which require a particular document. But if a competition is to be performed, nothing but let us say you want to read a file or you want to validate the data in a particular table, then you require a PLSQL program. So we'll not talk about which scenario, but right now we'll try to understand how do you register a PLSQL program as a concurrent program. Okay, so one basic thing is only a PLSQL procedure. Okay, function cannot be registered, only a PLSQL procedure. Either the PLSQL procedure can be part of a package or it can be independent one also. And but the basic thing is it should be in app schema. It should be available in app schema. These are the few prerequisites for registering a PLSQL procedure as a concurrent program. And also it should have the first two parameters. The first two parameters of the PLSQL procedure should have out parameters. I mean the parameter mode should be out parameter. Okay, so error buff and return code. So but what is the reason of this one is like see a concurrent program is Oracle predefined, like a predefined program which is available for the purpose of executing the programs. So internally it required this set of parameters for maintaining some set of state. That's the reason we have to register them. So error buff, which should be of data type this one, and return code. Okay, now I'll just try to have a very simple sample. How do we register? So let's open our SQL worksheet. XXQA sample procedure CP. Create or replace procedure error buff varchar2 return code number is begin end. Okay, and now I'll just try to write like similar to dbms output which we have in a normal PLSQL program. We have something called fnd file dot put underscore line fnd underscore file dot log. So this is for the purpose of generating log at the concurrent program level. Okay, sample log. And similarly we have another thing called fnd underscore file dot output, so which prints the content in the output window. Okay,
I mean, now here fnd underscore file is a package, put
yes.
underscore line is a procedure,
Yes.
and these are the two inputs of the procedure, is it? Find fnd underscore file dot log.
Yeah, fnd file is a package, put underscore line is a method, nothing but a procedure, and this particular procedure is having two parameters. One is like one is like one tells you like what type of output it is, and other is a content which you want to print.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let's compile. One minute. So now let's see what are the steps involved in registering a PLSQL program as a concurrent program. As of now, what we have done, development of a source code is done. Development of our PLSQL procedure is done. And make sure this should be available in the app schema. If you are generally in the real time, what we do is we'll be creating our PLSQL program or any custom program in the custom schema. Okay, once you define the object in a particular custom schema, then we have to create a synonym in the app schema. Okay, and then the remaining registration process we can achieve. So the registration process involved in this for our concurrent executable concurrent program, and the final one is a request group. So mostly any concurrent program will require all these things, but here now in this particular scenario we doesn't need to move our file to any location. We already have a program which is available in the database. That's it. Okay. Now make a note of our program name and go to application developer, concurrent executable, mention the same name here. So generally, if your particular program name is part of, like your package name, if your particular procedure is part of a package, then you have to mention package name dot procedure name. Okay. And here generally schema doesn't matter because we already have this application doesn't matter because the component which we have is a part of a schema. Okay, so generally what we do is if it's a part of a real-time implementation, we need to just mention our custom application name. Okay. Okay. Now concurrent program, go to concurrent program, mention this name, and here output format also doesn't matter because PLSQL will have a capability of generating the data in only text format. Okay. Now application short name, here sample procedure concurrent program. So now you can close this one. Now go to system administrator, request group, application developer reports, application developer. Now let's run it. Okay. Now let's refresh. Yeah. So generally it all depends upon the intensity of your program, how we write it. That's how it generally takes the time, and depends upon the server load also. How many people concurrently running your server. Okay. So click on view output. We should see output now, sample output, and you can just check the log also. View log, we'll get the log, and somewhere it will mention the log here, sample log, right? This is a log, and here generally it mentions what is a concurrent executable, concurrent program short name, and this is our concurrent program name. Okay. And in some scenarios in real time, what we do is the concurrent program which we define, we'll be scheduling them, and automatically we'll be setting the printing option also. So once your program gets completed, yes, send the output to printer. So those particular settings, what we do is we'll be defining at our concurrent program definition level. So concurrent program, and here you will see an option called printer. Yeah, printer. So in this one, you'll mention that which printer you want to send the output to. So these particular printer configurations will be done by the DBA. They have to mention which printer the business want to use, and based on that we need to send them to the appropriate printer. Okay. Fine so far.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so now what we want to do is, we'll try to resume over the earlier sample which we want to achieve, sample thing which we want to achieve. Okay. So now the first thing is what we want to do is we'll try to understand a particular API, fnd request dot submit request, right? This one, fnd request submit request. So the basic purpose of this particular API is to invoke concurrent program. The basic purpose of this particular API is to invoke a concurrent program, and the parameters what it requires is concurrent program short name and concurrent program application short name, and it requires, if at all, if your program is having any parameters, you need to pass the parameters. Okay, these are the basic three things which it requires. Okay, let's see. And one more prerequisite, like before, like now here, this is an API which Oracle provided. This particular the functionality of this particular API is to invoke a concurrent program. So the prerequisite for this one is this is a security enabled program. So the reason is, like here, if let us say if some developer is having an access, if some developer is from the app schema, or maybe like they have this API permission and they want to execute it. So Oracle just did some restrictions such a way that until unless you perform apps initialization, it will not allow you to execute a program. So internally there could be a lot number of complex logic of which Oracle would have written to to have this kind of strict logic. That's the only thing. Okay. In our case, what we do is to invoke this particular program, we require to call another API called apps initialize. Okay. Okay. Let's see how do we call it. And this is one of the very important thing in Oracle ERP. Okay. So here what we are trying to do is, so in the declared section, I just mentioned a variable called request ID. And here I mentioned fnd underscore global dot apps initialize. So this required three parameters: user ID, responsibility ID, and application ID. So apps initialization requires these three parameters, but how do you get it, right? So what we can do is there are different ways of getting these particular data. Like once you log into your application, and now one more important thing is here we want to invoke a particular program, right? So we have to make sure that that particular program is available under a particular responsibility. So in our case, let us say I have already assigned this particular our PLSQL program into the application developer responsibility. So then get the details from here. Click on diagnostics, examine, and profiles. Sorry, profiles, user ID, and get all this particular relevant information: user ID, responsibility ID, and responsibility application ID. Okay. So after that, then what we have to do, we just need to mention, like we just need to call our submit request API. So this required three parameters. So XXQA, yeah, this is the one, or yeah, this one. Now this is our concurrent program short name. So generally, like what we may have a general confusion, like what is the difference between a concurrent program short name or executable short name. These all things will be there. Generally, wherever you have short name, they cannot be modified. Here, if you observe, program name I can modify at any point of time. Okay, so there are some particular scenarios. That's the reason what Oracle has done is there are chances your program may get changed in the real time. They always have a different naming conventions. In our case, till production, our customers ask to change the name. Okay.
Yeah. When we are using apps initialize in the PLSQL code, we are giving access for this particular concurrent program, for this particular user, and for this particular responsibility. We are providing access to app schema, is it?
Not really. Yeah, I'll tell you. So now what are we trying to do? We want to invoke a concurrent program from our PLSQL program. From PLSQL program, we want to invoke a concurrent program. So to invoke a concurrent program, we need to call the API called fnd request submit request. So to invoke for this particular API to work properly, we have to make sure that you need to perform apps initialization. So this apps initialization requires three parameters, but what parameters we have to provide, it all depends upon which particular concurrent program you want to invoke. Now in our case, we want to invoke this particular concurrent program which is available in the application developer responsibility. So because this apps initialization required three parameters, and these two parameters are depend upon your responsibility. Responsibility ID and responsibility application ID always depends upon your responsibility. So that is the reason we have to understand from which particular responsibility you want to invoke a concurrent program. Go there and find out these particular responsibility ID and responsibility application ID, and then provide them appropriately. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so now here we make sure that you need to mention commit. Okay, this is what we forgot last time. Okay, so let me save this one so we can refer this later stage also. Invoke CP PLSQL, and yeah, we can enable the DBMS output log also. So this particular submit request API, it has to print the request ID. If it doesn't print request ID, if it prints request ID as 0, it means that there is a bug in your invocation, or maybe you forgot to send some parameters. Okay. Now we can just go here and yeah, alt view request. Okay, so from here you can find that, right? 210. And what is your request ID? Yeah, 210. Got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how we can invoke a concurrent program. Now what we want to do is like right now what we have done, we have tried to invoke a PLSQL concurrent program. So from one PLSQL anonymous block, we try to invoke a PLSQL based concurrent program. Next thing what we do is we'll try to invoke XML report concurrent program. Okay, clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just save as XML CP, invoke CP XML report so that we can easily understand what we are trying to do. I'll close this. I'll close this. Yeah, this is also not required. Now what we want to do is we just try to get the existing program, any XML report which we have done earlier, XXQA. And one important thing, let us say if someone asks you to find out the XML reports which we have done, the XML reports which we have done, and which is starting with the name XXQA. So the easiest way you can search is like you can just search with XXQA percentile followed by executable name should be xdevo.datxe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the easiest way to search xdevo. XDO. Okay.
DTEXE. XDODTEXE.
Yeah, right. Right. So we have different set of reports. 3 reports I think we have done only. Okay. I'll take AR invoice report. This is our AR invoice report, and this require 2 parameters, right? It requires 2 parameters. So you just need to mention after this 2 parameters. So now what we can do is like let us say if you want to find out the earlier request, sometimes what happens is let us say you have designed your program last month and now you just got some bug and you want to validate what is the stuff. So like it's very difficult to remember the parameters, right? Just find out your earlier request like this. Okay, now 204, right? Yeah, now we got our set of parameters, right? And fnd, I think it was fnd only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, generally we do fnd stuff. Yeah, okay. So far the latest request is 210, right? Now let's try to invoke. Now it generated this request ID 211, right? 211. Okay, let's see. Yeah, now click on view output. Okay, before that, just a basic question. Do you think that it will generate the output properly?
Yes, it should.
On what basis you're telling that?
We have already registered that XML. It is working fine.
Mm. And one more basic thing is like if you see the status, it's clearly telling the status is complete, right? Completed and status. Generally, when you see the status of a program, so the expectation is that your program got completed successfully. That is general expectation, right? Let's see. Click on view output, and what are we getting now? We are getting XML data, right?
You for that particular concurrent program, we have already attached the template and
Mm-hmm.
layout. No,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
data model and layout. Then why it is not coming?
Yes, that's the issue here. Even though the status of the program it shows completed status, it's not printing, right? It's simply printing only XML data. That is not the like we just require a proper output, right? Not the XML data, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So now to overcome this issue, like it is not an issue actually, because that is how the XML report works. So if you're trying to invoke your XML report manually, nothing but using a PLSQL program, just invoking the program will not suffice. You require an extra step. Nothing but we need to add the layout. There is something, there is an API called fnd request.add layout. We just need to mention the add layout program before you run the, before you invoke the submit request. Clear?
Okay.
So yeah, so yeah, okay, these two things we require. You just need to set the options and you need to set the add layout functionality also. Let me assign this particular output parameters. So now what we have to do is, like, we just need to mention fnd request dot set app set options. You can, in the options, you just need to, doesn't need to mention any specific thing here, but in the add layout, we have to mention template code. We have these particular options should be perfect, else it will not work. Okay, so now what we do is go to the place where we registered our XML template, go to XML publisher template, templates. Okay, click on templates. Now search here. Now mention this here. This is our code, right? Template code, not the template name. It's template code we have to consider. Here I'll mention that. And application short name of the template. Application short name of the template. And it is FND. And the template language is English. Territory we have not mentioned, so we have to pass 00. And what is the output you want? So I mentioned here I want PDF. Okay. So these are the extra two things we have to add up while calling the XML report from the PLSQL program. Now let's try. 212 is the request ID. So let's see whether it works or not. Okay, let's try now. You got the output?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the only difference. Okay, so whenever we are trying to invoke the XML report from the PLSQL program, make sure that you need to call the add layout stuff also. Most of the times, developers forget this, and like they think and later, after wasting some time, they'll find out this. It's very difficult to remember some, because it doesn't give any error, right? Generally, like, the expectation is that if programs give error, we think, okay, there is something wrong, developer can try to fix it. But if it doesn't give any error, so then it becomes very difficult for us to find out the issue, right? So this is the only thing we have to consider while invoking an XML report from the PLSQL program. And now other thing what we want to do is, if you remember earlier, like we thought of designing a program which will consider the output type, and based on that it should generate it, right? Now here in this case, what you can do, let us say if you want PDF, you can pass PDF. Let us say if you want HTML, then pass HTML, right? Now let us say if you see the latest request, the request ID is 214, right? 214. Let's see the output. Now we got the HTML. So now here using this particular, but the basic thing here is like the program which we are trying to invoke, nothing but the program what we have done, we designed a anonymous block, right? This is not a concurrent program. So now this is not the program for the business user purpose. This is only developer friendly, not the business user friendly, right? So what we want to do is we want to design, as per our earlier requirement, we want to design a program which will consider the output type also. Because if user selects HTML, it has to print HTML. If it is a PDF, it has to print PDF. If it is an Excel, it has to print Excel. That is what we want to achieve. So what we do is, we are already halfway near to our solution. Just copy the existing logic. Okay. Now I'll just try to add up some more extra part here and just then we can totally finish this program. Okay, what I will do is I'll just remove this declared section here, and I'll just mention create or replace procedure QA invoke XML report. Okay, what should we write? Error buff varchar2 return code number, and we require two parameters. One is org ID, other one is transaction ID. Yeah, we require one more parameter also. Output type also we require, which is varchar. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so here is, and what we can do? You just pass the parameters properly here. P org ID. Where is that? Yeah, P org ID. Transaction ID. So output type here you just pass that. Okay. Output type here we have to pass. Compile. Right. Next thing is registration again. Concurrent executable. PLSQL. Save it. Concurrent program. Invoke XML report. And org ID. Right. Transaction ID. Output type. Output type should be varchar. Okay, we'll make all of them as required. System administrator, request group. Right, and now pass the parameters. 204, this one, and I'll try to pass Excel and submit.
From where, like how the program will understand the output type should be Excel?
So here we are passing this one, right? The parameter which we have considered. See this one. The parameter P output type we are passing to add layout, right? In the add
Yeah,
layout,
yeah, yeah.
in the add layout, in the output format, we are passing this,
Okay.
right? So now here, if you see, this was our XML. This was our the PLSQL program. This is the XML report. Now here for running one program, it is like it requires two programs, right? One more extra program. Are you getting? Well, I'll show you again. See, now
Yeah,
this was
bursting one.
no, it's not busting. This was our PLSQL program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, where is the parameters? This is our PLSQL program. Here I am passing all the output parameter types, right? These three things. So this PLSQL program is taking these three parameters, and these three parameters will be passed to the XML report which we have defined earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And this concurrent program will invoke another concurrent program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Submit. and here refresh. Now can you see 220 is our program which we have triggered, and it will invoke another program. Just observe that.
Now, if the procedure we have written, if it has to get the details of another modules like purchasing or order management or AR, then do we need to do apps initialize for all those modules as well?
Apps initialization is required when you are running from this particular SQL developer, else it doesn't require apps initialization. So now here we
Yeah.
mention, yeah, so here I mention apps initialization, right? This is not required at all here. This is not required here. Now try to rerun the same program and you can observe the result. Apps initialization is required if you want to invoke from the SQL developer. Within the Toad or within the SQL developer, if you're trying to invoke some set of APIs or tables which require apps initialization, then you have to mention that. But within the concurrent program level, it doesn't require that logic.
Okay.
Right? So now here without having apps initialization, we got the output. Okay. Apps initialization is required only if you're trying to validate some set of options from the SQL developer, from the Toad or SQL developer, because this by default it will not, like Oracle will not give total access to these tools. That's the reason. Okay. So the same way we can also achieve the busting stuff. The only thing is we just need to mention, we just need to call another API, another program also. So here what we have to do is, so from our program, from our PLSQL program, you have to call another XML report, and the request ID of that XML report you have to pass to busting one. So that's the extra thing we have to do in the busting stuff. Okay, but right now what you can do is just try to practice this one. So later on we can think of the remaining things. Okay. So any questions?
No, it looks fine.
Okay. Yeah, just practice and you'll get some idea.
Yeah, I actually what I was thinking is maybe from this Wednesday, okay,